Welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast, bringing you authentic and vulnerable stories that will inspire you to breathe fire on this world and become your own hero. Here's your host, Blaise Hunter.
Hello, welcome to Blaise the Trail podcast. I'm Blaise Hunter, and I am a fertility expert. No, I don't help people get pregnant. This is a different type of expertise. I actually inspire women to birth confidence, to birth their books and business ideas, dreams, passions, and goals, as well as help them discover peace amongst infertility. After going through my own sets of traumas and tragedies, dealing with a rare disease, and experiencing 3 miscarriages, I decided to take charge of my life and not let life happen to me, but rather become the hero of my own life. I am not barren. I continually birth my purpose every day. So that's why I created this show, to demonstrate how even though we all experience setbacks and disappointments, we still have a destiny to birth. We just need to blaze the trail and be expecting. This podcast will inspire you to lean into your hardships and allow them to be the vehicle that transports you into becoming the hero of your life so you can breathe fire on this world. This week's episode is called The Elegant Warrior, and some points we'll cover are what being an elegant warrior is all about, how to step into your power, and we'll give you some tips and tricks on establishing healthy relationships. And I have my friend here, Rebecca Whitman, to speak on this topic. Rebecca is a success mentor, graduate with honors from Princeton University, and the author of the book, How to Make a 6-Figure Income Working Part-Time. She hosts the Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant podcast. She has been a top producing salesperson in every industry from automotive, health, beauty, and the performing arts. She has trained and managed sales teams to record-breaking success. Rebecca has also acted in television, film, and commercials. She has studied with some of the great spiritual teachers of our time, like Marianne Williamson, Abraham Hicks, and Michael Beckwith, to name a few. In her workshops and coaching, Rebecca combines metaphysical teachings, 12-step recovery, and business savvy to help people get extraordinary results. Her philosophy divides life into 7 pillars of abundance, which include spiritual, physical, emotional, romantic, mental, social, and financial. She helps people achieve balance with these 7 areas so they can experience more fun and freedom in life. Welcome, Rebecca, to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Blaise.
You know, we met online, and we were just talking off air of how incredible it is just to meet people organically, networking and collaborating online. We've never met face to face, and yet here we are connected, have very different backgrounds, but also very similar journeys. So it's so awesome to connect with people and have you on my show.
It's so great to connect with you. And it's so funny how our 2 journeys were different, but we landed on the same ideals of self-acceptance and self-love. And it's so beautiful to connect with you.
Yes. You know, when I read your book, I was like, wow, you know, like we are very different, but yet very similar. And I find that fascinating and just pulling on and drawing on from several same mentors or philosophies and mindsets. And it really is just about, you know, it doesn't matter where you come from or where you're going, but, you know, applying those same types of principles and core values to be the hero of your life. And I think that's why we connect so well, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we touched a little bit on your bio there, but maybe can you walk us through a little bit more of your backstory and how you ended up being a success mentor?
Sure. Well, I grew up with the same philosophy that almost everybody does, right? You go to school and you get good grades, and the people who get the A's are going to be the successful bosses, and the people who get the C's and the D's are going to be working for the people who got the A's. And I believe that looking good was more important than feeling good. So I got into an Ivy League school. I graduated from that school, and I moved to New York City, and I thought, oh, I have a degree from Princeton. I'm going to be able to work in the entertainment industry. But instead of getting a highly paid job, I was offered free internships. So I was like, there's something wrong with this picture. So I found an ad in the newspaper back in ancient times where we actually answered ads. And it said, circle me. If you sell these products for 5 years, you can retire a self-made millionaire. And I said, heck yeah, sign me up. So what happened, Blaise, was I did not retire a self-made millionaire, but I did get to study with self-made millionaires, and I learned so much on how they thought, how they worked, how they manage other people, how they manage their time. And those philosophies led me to be able to make a part-time living while in LA. So I moved to LA to pursue acting, and instead of having to wait on tables, I was doing part-time sales the whole time that I've been in LA. I've been in LA for 20 years. And because I had such a flexible schedule, I was not getting the acting interviews that I wanted, but I did have the time to study with spiritual mentors and learn new ways of thinking and being and attend 12-step meetings. And I changed. I changed my philosophy, and I changed from not having everything looking good on the outside and being miserable on the inside. Like, how many people can relate to that, right? Like, everything looks good. I have the house, I have the car, I even have the husband, but I was miserable. So I did get married because I thought, oh my God, if I actually felt the pressure that you talk about in your book. Like, I got married at age 39. So I'm like, I have to get married and have kids like ASAP, or I'm never going to get to have kids. And it was a toxic marriage, and it was really, really painful. And I remember sitting with him in a therapist's office, and the therapist just asked me, Rebecca, do you want to be married to this man? And a voice, it was that still small voice, it came through me, and it said, I want a life of ease, grace, and spiritual dignity. And that was a huge turning point for me. And I was able to leave that marriage. My dad was actually dying at the same time as my marriage was dissolving, and he had asked me, will you write something, Rebecca? I don't care if it's a book, an essay, or an article. I really think your life view is different, and the world needs to hear about it. And I didn't know what to write, so I was just like open, because my philosophy is that God speaks through other people. And I was sitting in my financial planner's office in workout clothes, and he's looking at my portfolio, and my finances are great. And he's like, why don't you write a book and teach women how you're able to come in here in workout clothes, and yet you're worth over $1 million in assets? And I said, you know what? That's going to be the name of my book, How to Make a Six-Figure Income Working Part-Time. And that is where I came up with the 7 pillars, which you mentioned. So there's 7 key areas of life, and when all are in alignment, you can be happy, you can manifest abundance, you can find your soulmate. And I've been living this life now for, I don't know, maybe it's been 5 years, and it's been absolutely incredible.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. That's an interesting, the journey that you were on, and realizing that you were just working on the outside and not on the inside. And I think, this culture really teaches us to be box checkers. Like, check, got the schooling, check, got the job, check, I got the body, check, I got the husband. Now, it just becomes this endless pursuit that to keep checking those boxes, but we're not always taught to check internally. Am I happy? Or am I just checking off all the boxes that I'm supposed to do? And I think that's fascinating that you realized that it really didn't make you happy just checking all those boxes. You got to check the box inside whether I'm actually at peace and happy, right?
Exactly. It was just such a huge lesson that it's better to feel good than to look good, because I was a box checker, and I was like, okay, I got the house, I got the car, I got the job, I got the body, I got the look. And now my breaking point was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and just marry someone that if I would have met him when I was 22, I would not have married him. But I was like, oh my God, I only have like 2 more years of fertility left, so I have to like marry this person and make this happen with him. And it was so incongruent to who I was. And that was literally the box that broke me. And that's where I had the huge epiphany about it's better to live a life of ease, grace, and spiritual dignity than to white knuckle it and look good but be miserable.
Exactly. And I was like that too. I'm a perfectionist. I worked on the outside and presented what everyone wanted to see, but it didn't make me happy. So it was this very big disconnect from the outer world versus the inner world. And I think that's a lot of our, same kind of jobs and what we're doing with our, passions and our purpose is that we're helping ourselves and others just realize how to connect the two. And you can be happy and you can pursue things, but always having that dialogue and that check system where it's like, is this really making me happy? Is this what I want? Or am I just doing what I think is expected of me, right?
Yes, I like to check in with 3 sentences. What do I want? How do I feel? And what changes are necessary? Mm-hmm. And those are the 3 checkpoints that I'm constantly doing with myself to make sure that I am on track and that I am, following my inner guidance and not following, what other people think I should have. And it's a very free way to live. Now, I don't have kids, and, I know you were very upset that you only had one. I don't have any, and it's like, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally, it was not my destiny, or I would have had kids. So it's also a lot of having faith, and you can call your higher power the universe, God, source. I choose to call it God. If God wanted me to have kids, I would have had kids, I wouldn't have had to make, a marriage work that obviously wasn't meant to be. And it's okay. Like, it's okay that that's not my path. And I love that you say you're a fertility expert and people can birth other things. Like, I'm birthing a podcast and a coaching business, and I birthed a book, and I'm birthing workshops, and there's other ways to bring life to the world other than to reproduce a human. And I love that that's in your mission.
Thank you. Yeah, I just think that we all have a destiny to birth, like how I say that, but like redefining what mother means to you and your own unique life, because it doesn't have to be confined to this one label. Because once we do that, then if you don't fit that, then you feel inadequate. And I don't want that for us, because none of us are inadequate. We all are enough. And, the title of the show is The Elegant Warrior. And this is actually your manifesto. And I love it so much because it means so much. But can you explain what it actually means to you and how you help women embody this?
Yeah, so an elegant warrior is a way of being. So elegance to me means balance. It means having balance in your life between your spirituality and your physical fitness and your romantic life and your social life and your financial life. So elegance is a way of being where life doesn't have to be hard. Like, we're taught work hard, play hard. And to me, that's a very masculine paradigm where you have to be a workaholic and everything has to be hard to be worth it. Like, elegance to me is just having a life of ease and balance, and you actually can manifest more and have way more fun when you're in the flow of the universe. They actually scientifically have proven flow state is real, and that's where things are just coming easy for us. We're in the moment. We're in the zone. You can see it in professional athletes when time stops. So elegance is just a beautiful way of being. And warrior is similar to your avatar. To me, warrior is about not being a slave to the dictates of society. It's not about relinquishing your power to what other people think you should be. It's not about, being a people pleaser. It's about being a stand for yourself and what you want and going for it and not caring what other people think. I think the biggest part of being a warrior is about being authentic and being true to yourself in every way and not caring what people think. And that, in this day and age, is a warrior, because we're socialized to do everything, especially as women. We're socialized to be people pleasers and to do everything for everybody else and for approval. And being a warrior is like putting your stake in the ground and saying, not here, not now, not me. I am going to be my authentic self. So that is the explanation of what an elegant warrior is.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love your definition of that. And I love how you're bringing, almost like the feminine and the masculine together. And elegance doesn't have to be weak. Elegance is a presence. It's grace. It's powerful, just in a very different way than the very brute warrior kind of mentality. But you need both. You can't just be in one or the other. You need both. And I love how you marry those two together. So that's a fabulous kind of manifesto and mission to really bring to the world. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you. I've never thought of it that way, as bringing the masculine and the feminine together, but it is true. You can actually be feminine and still achieve and be a warrior and go for big goals and dreams, and do it in a flowing, easy way. So I think a lot of people mistake elegance with passivity, but it's not passive.
No.
Yeah.
Because I definitely like that quote. It's something about being a river, and like a river has got this elegance to it, but it's so powerful, and yet it's flow. It goes with the flow, but a river can erode mountains. That's how powerful it is. But you got to kind of shift your perception of what powerful means, right? And allow both to come into your life and step into that when it's needed. So it's really knowing who you are and what is around you, and step into that when you need to, right?
I think it's not even about stepping into your power when you need it. I think if you're always coming from the most loving place possible in any moment, that you'll be in your power, and you'll respond appropriately, because to me, God is love. So if I'm constantly coming from a loving place, whether it's business, personal, in line at the grocery store, in traffic, I'm always going to be in my power.
I love that. That's so true. And it's always like going back to that of like embodying that love for yourself, love for others, right?
And that's strong. Being a stand for love. I mean, if you look at people like Martin Luther King and Mother Teresa and JFK and Barack Obama, it takes strength to be a stand for love when in a world where people, especially now, there's never been such a hateful, angry collective. So to actually step away from that vibration, which is negative and angry, and be like a stand for love, it takes a lot of strength and a lot of power.
So true. I echo those words completely. And, it's just such an amazing thing to do, and a gift to give yourself when you can walk in full love for yourself. And I think that's what's lacking. So I think that's what my message is, and your messages, and in our own unique ways, is about love, a love for ourselves and love for the world. And, I just loved your book, and I read it, and I was fascinated of how we are very similar in our mindsets and our approaches. And I believe you only get to that point and that way of thinking when you actually face some deep stuff in your life and turn towards it and walk through it. And you had mentioned in your book that you had body image issues, and you also had an addiction problem. So can you walk us through that a little bit and share how you came to battle that and conquer those issues?
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I'll talk about my eating issues, which I've never talked about on any podcast. So I am about to #get real.
Wow. Yay.
So in I just got chills because I've never talked about this publicly. So in high school, I had my heart really broken for the first time, and I was best friends with a guy, and, we were intimate for the first time, and then he completely ignored me, which is just so devastating at any age, but especially when you're 16. And I just couldn't eat after that. Like I got so depressed and upset, and I felt so abandoned by him that I just couldn't eat after that. So I had about a 1-year bout with anorexia. And then when I got to college, I went to the other extreme, and I got into this great college. I felt like a fish out of water because I was from a Midwest public school, and all the other kids were from boarding school, and my addiction to alcohol and food really took off because it made me feel safe, which that's what addictions do. We have an emptiness or a pain in our heart, and the addictions literally fill that pain. I was drinking alcoholically, and then I would drink to the point of blacking out, and when I was in a blackout, my food addiction kicked in. So I would go through all the care packages in my roommate's in our dorm room and eat like cookies and whatever I could find in the dorm room. And then I would wander the halls of the dorm and like eat people's leftover pizza, because people would order pizza and like leave the pizza box in the hallway. And I would either throw up or pass out. And it was just like a vicious cycle of drinking and eating and drinking and eating. And it was painful. Like, I hated myself, and I felt so out of place and so like apart from, so lonely. And the food and the alcohol made me feel safe. And what happened was I got into a relationship with this guy and he and I broke up, and it was really painful. And I did a fake suicide attempt. So I staged it. I wore all black. I played the Cure, and I took a bottle of Tylenol cold medicine. And I got taken to the student infirmary, and I spoke to the school psychiatrist, and he asked me to take this test, are you an alcoholic, which I, of course, passed with flying colors. And he asked if he could send a student from AA to the hospital room to talk to me about AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I said, sure. So she came to the hospital, and then when I got out of the hospital, I met her, and we walked to a meeting on campus, and that is when I had my huge spiritual awakening. I got a relationship with a higher power. I started working the 12 steps, and my whole life opened up because I was able to surrender everything, all this pain, all this loneliness, to this higher power that was love. So, yeah, that was my big bottom and my huge struggle with food and alcohol.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel very honored that you're sharing that part and showing our listeners, we all have, ugly pasts. It's what you do with them, though. Like, it's not about, you and me have perfect lives. We don't. We all have issues. We've all had setbacks, but it's like what you do with it. And, just talking about it helps ourselves free ourselves from it, but also may help somebody else that may be going through the same issues, right?
Absolutely. If you are struggling with any kind of addiction, it could be shopping, gambling, sex, food, alcohol, love, drugs, like there are places that can help you. There are treatment centers. Right now there are so many free online Zoom meetings for 12 steps. If you ever wanted to just dip your toe in the pool and see what you thought of 12 steps, there's so many Zoom meetings where you can just literally Zoom in and be a fly on the wall.
Yes. And it's interesting that you talked about, going through a breakup, and that kind of was a catalyst to, going to things that numbed it or made you feel better, feel safe. And often it is a trauma that we face or something that we've gone through that triggers, this wound, and we go looking to make us feel better. And, I appreciate your honesty there, because it's amazing. Another thing that we've been connected with. So a couple of things for me that triggered me in deep depression and low self-worth was a breakup from a boyfriend in high school. And then my dad, when I was 21, faked his own death. And that was terribly traumatic for me. And we never spoke about it again. He returned home, and we literally never talked about it again. And so I just masked that up and went to coping things that were bad for me. And then I developed this thing where I am not worthy and men reject me. Men aren't safe. So then it created this pattern of me seeking out very abusive relationships, because that almost felt normal, that men were toxic and unsafe. And so I sought that out for a long period of my life. And it's amazing how those traumas then create further traumas, because then we go to unhealthy coping mechanisms like, eating disorders and, drugs or alcohol or toxic relationships or whatever, right? And it's about facing that. And you had this epiphany. You went and you faced the wounds and you healed. And Rumi once said, the wound is where the light enters you. So it's that's what the message is. We can't escape the wound. We can't exhaust it with exercise, drown it out by alcohol, clean it with OCD to get away from the mess. You just actually have to face it and heal from it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I love that Rumi quote. I think you said that in your book. It sounds familiar.
Oh, it is. It is always a constant reminder when I want to hide from, the not so perfect part of my life. It's like, no, that's where the healing comes from, right? So like just do away with it once you face it. And, we talked a little bit about these relationships, and you experienced a divorce, and you did a lot of personal growth working around that and surrounding relationships. And we have a mutual type of mentor that we go to, is that Allison A. Armstrong. You quoted her in your book. So did I. I found that so amazing. She's fabulous. What have you learned about being in a healthy relationship, and how does this apply to being an elegant warrior?
Well, let me just give a shout out to Allison Armstrong. She is going to be on my podcast, The Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant Show, in January. So everybody tune in to the Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant Show. And she is such a huge mentor of mine in the area of relationships. So what I learned from Allison was partnership. That's what she teaches. It's all about communication. It's all about partnership, because our cavewoman brain, it was all about not wanting to be abandoned. Because in caveman times, if a man had sex with a woman and impregnated her and then moved on to the next tribe or the next campsite, the woman was alone with her baby, and she would be literally eaten by a woolly mammoth, and she would have to fend for herself. So women have this instinct in their DNA when they are intimate with a man to cling to him, to want to control him, to want to follow him around, to want to not lose him so they wouldn't be, stranded in the wilderness and die. So that is where a lot of our people pleasing come from, codependency. So what I learned is how to be interdependent rather than codependent, and that I can have a fully actualized, beautiful life apart from my relationship, and then bring that to the relationship rather than making the relationship my whole life and being codependent.
Oh, yes, totally agree. She's such an amazing person that just sheds light on so many issues and make it relatable. So totally love that partnership. And, her book, The Queen's Code, changed my marriage, because I pulled away from that as I was a girl that emasculated men because I didn't feel confident in my own power. So I took others away, right? I took my husband's power away by emasculating him. And it was this huge pinnacle moment when I asked him, I'm like, oh, when I say these things, do I emasculate you? And he was so honest. And he was like, yeah. And it was just poof, wow, that was not my intention, consciously. But I was doing it because internally I did not feel like I had my own power. So that was a 180 in our marriage when I just stopped emasculating him. And I stood in my power, and he had his power. And now we are a partnership with lots of power, but we are operating in our own. No one's stepping on each other, right?
Yeah, that was a huge part of her training. And we actually had to take an oath in front of the seminar that we would stop emasculating men. And you know what? Some women couldn't do it, and they left the seminar. That's they just literally, they couldn't agree to do it. And I think we're in a society that is very emasculating of men right now, because women are coming into their power, but women can come into their power and celebrate men. And that's why her seminar was called Celebrating Men, Satisfying Women. You can celebrate men and still come into your power, women. We don't have to we don't have to take their power to get ours. There's enough power for both men and women. And that's why I love the concept of a power couple.
Yes. And it was amazing, because you'll see the results. And I have many women that say, well, why should I change and do this when they don't do that? And I promise you, the moment you start implementing these positive changes in your life, you will see an immediate change, because they're reflecting off of what you're giving off. And so I started to fan my own flame and not take away from my husband. And he in turn stepped into his own purpose and power without taking mine away. And he actually fanned my flame. It was such an amazing organic process, just by me stopping from taking others' power away, right? And just owning my own. Because we have infinite power within. We just need to tap into that, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love this conversation. And, it's all about having healthy relationships with ourselves, so that then totally is the ripple effect of how to create a healthy relationship with others, whether it is your partner, other friends, your family, your children. It's all stemming from the core of having that healthy relationship with self, loving yourself. And I think that is the essence of Elegant Warrior, like you said, is walking in love, right?
Absolutely. Being a fierce stand for love.
Oh, love this. So you are this powerful, elegant warrior. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
That is such a great question. Wow. The legacy that I want to leave behind is for people to actually be kinder to each other and to lift each other up, and that all things are working together for the highest good of all. Like, what's good for me is good for you, and just lifting people up. Like, how can you lift the vibe of the room up at a party? How can you lift a conversation in an elevator up? How can you lift someone up at the cashier checkout line? Like, just constantly, how can I be a stand for love and lift people up? So when I walk into the room, people feel the love, and when people walk away from me, they feel like their day shifted because they felt the love. So that's what I want to be my legacy. How can others lift each other up more?
That's fabulous. I love that. And that's such an incredible footprint to leave, is that powerful message of love and kindness and a positive impact, right? So I just honor that. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. No one's ever asked me that question in that way. So like,
really?
Yeah, okay, that's going to be my legacy. It's just how I live. But then I'm like, well, how I live, it's the legacy that I'm going to leave. And that's what I want other people to be inspired by, and also want to be an uplifting force in the world. So that was a great question.
Oh, thanks so much for being so honest and showing up. I love that you're facing all of that and like really thinking about it. And that's what, my goal is to really just help the population, help the world think and reflect and really be genuine and authentic in our answers rather than just rehearsed ones. Because I was that girl. I'm a radio broadcaster. I'm a PR person. It's all about the rehearsing of the dialogue. And I'm like, no, I've had to like completely change all those tactics and just be real. And yes, sometimes I flub up. Sometimes I say the wrong thing, but it's honest, right?
Right.
Awesome. So what's next for you? What are you working on? You've talked about your podcast, and how can people, connect with you or work with you?
Yeah, so I'm super excited. So I just announced this today. I've only announced it to my live-in boyfriend. I am having a very powerful intention-setting free workshop on December 27th. It's going to be a way to set your goals and intentions for the new year. And we're going to break down each of the 7 pillars of abundance and set affirmations in those areas. So you can have 3 affirmations in 7 areas, 21 beautiful affirmations that will help you achieve everything you want in the new year. And this is going to be a free workshop. It's going to be on December 27th, and it's going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I will give you that information to share with your followers. And then on January 4th, the following Monday, we are going to start our Elegant Warrior training, where for the first 7 weeks of the year, we're going to focus on these 7 pillars of abundance. So the first week, we're going to focus on our spirituality and how we can get a great morning practice that helps us stay tuned in, tapped in, and turned on. The second week is going to be focusing on our physical fitness, how we can exercise and move our bodies and eat healthy in a way that serves our health for this time when we all need to be as healthy as possible. The next area is going to be our emotional life. So we're going to talk about how to stay emotionally centered and not get triggered. Hello, these times are so triggering. And then we're going to talk about our romantic life. If we're in a relationship, how can we deepen the intimacy? If we don't have our relationship, how can we manifest our soulmate in the new year? We're going to talk about our mental life, how we can grow and expand our mind in the new year. We're going to talk about our social life, how we can be around other uplifting, positive, amazing people so we can have fun and get support as we achieve our goals and dreams. And then finally, we're going to talk about our financial game plan for the new year. How much money do we want? How do we want to do it? Do we need a side hustle? Do we need to quit our job? And all those things about time management that will help serve us in our financial goals. So it's going to be freaking amazing. It's the best way ever to start the new year. I really hope to see some of your listeners at the free intention and goal setting workshop, and some will go on to do these 7 weeks. So you can start 2021 like sprinting with a lot of momentum. That's my goal. So I'm super excited.
Oh, I love it. This is exciting. I can't wait to sign up for that. Mm-hmm. And if people want to, where do they go?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram and Twitter. I spend the most time on Instagram. It's at Rebecca E. Whitman, RebeccaEWhitman. And my website is RebeccaElizabethWhitman.com. You can also get my book on Amazon or Audible. And yeah, I would love to hear from you, answer questions, stay connected with anyone who's resonating with the things that we're talking about today, because that means you're my tribe. So I'm super excited to meet you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Well, it was such a pleasure to have you on today. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just would encourage your listeners to find joy in each day. Ask yourself in the morning, how can I find my joy today? Whether it's taking a walk, petting your dog, doing a fun exercise video, calling a friend, having a cup of tea and reading a book, because we are living in really challenging times. So it's really up to us to cultivate joy, and joy is the evidence of God. And if you find something to be joyous about every day, you'll string together several days, and then before you know it, you'll have a joyous life. So that is the message I want to leave with.
Oh, that's a great message. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Rebecca. We'll just recap what we talked about today: how to be in a state of elegance. Being a warrior is about being authentic. Your power is all about being in the power of love. Having healthy partnerships are so vital. And ask yourself, what is the legacy you want to leave behind? And start working towards that each day. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for hopping on today and just having this wonderful, authentic conversation with me.
It was absolutely incredible. I loved our conversation, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
Perfect. If you want to learn more about my consulting programs, purchase my book, or have me speak at your next event, visit blaisehunter.com. I do have a free offer for everyone today. When we feel lost in our day with overwhelm and anxiety, I have a free map video that brings you back to a place of peace and balance, because when we're driving and we feel lost, what do? We Google Maps that stuff, right? We go to the map. So I've created a little mini map video for everyone to guide you back through the maze of life of overwhelm and anxiety and get you to that place of peace and balance so you can be the hero of your life every day. That's it for this week's episode. Challenge yourself to be vulnerable, lean into the difficulties, and have those open conversations so we can rise up as the heroes of our lives, and let us breathe fire together. If you've enjoyed this show, please subscribe and support Blaise the Trail podcast. Reviews are always welcome and very much appreciated. Thanks for listening. I'm Blaise Hunter.
You've been listening to Blaise the Trail with Blaise Hunter. To learn more about how you can breathe fire and unleash the hero within, or to listen to past episodes, visit blaisehunter.com.